Namaste and welcome to this session number 9. We last week started with our study of Patanjali Yoga Sutra. A quick review we can make now. Yoga is Samadhi. Yoga is union with that supreme consciousness. And Samadhi word is coming from the root Dha, as if she holds me in her lap. So Yoga and Samadhi are synonyms, as we saw in the commentary by Vyas. And what does it require? In order to be with her, I should disconnect from my mind altogether. That is what is Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Chitta, as we have seen, Buddhi, when it is in very latent mode of functioning, is called Chitta. So when all the functions of Chitta have been subdued, then I am disconnect from the Chitta, from my mind domain, and I find myself in that infinite ocean of Satchidananda Swarup. So, but it is said here, Tada Drashtu Swarupe Avasthanam, then the observer is established in own self. Otherwise, the observer, the me, the self, the Purush, identifies with that Chitta Vritti, as if that is what is me. And then those vrittis, what appear on the Buddhi, are of 5 kinds. They have 2 divisions. One is from the origin. They might originate from the klesh in my ahankar. These are certain deposits that are there in the second unit of my mind, namely ahankar, and that is called klesh. And as we have seen, it is klesh due to which we have to come in this world. And klesh drives me to perform certain karma with an eye on its reward. So klesh gives rise to karma, which is of karmashaya and karma phal. Then I get rewards of action. It is sweet or bitter, sukha or dukh. So from the origin point of view, the vrittis are of 2 kinds, originating from klesh or not originating from klesh. And when they have appeared on my buddhi, buddhi gives me the knowledge, and that knowledge, as we know, is not always the right knowledge, not always correct knowledge. So there are 5 classifications. The correct knowledge is called praman, the wrong knowledge is called vipaya, and there is something in between. Literally it is not correct, but it is not also incorrect. So, this is how practically the world functions. We say in certain words which literally do not correspond to the real thing, but the listener gets a meaning, like sun is rising. They are called in the 3rd category vikalpa. Nidya it's a kind of a blackout. My instrument is there, buddhi is there, but some superior force has caused a total black curtain that it is not functioning. Though the world is there around me, but I cannot get to know anything in my surroundings because there is a black curtain. So that is called a nidya. And smriti is recollection from my ahankar, what we retrieve from our memory. So these are 5 kinds of buddhi vrittis that may arise. Then we have seen the correct ones are due to direct perception. Anuman, that is called pratyaksha. Anuman is by inference, and agam is testimony. Somebody's word I hear and I test it. Then Vipaya is incorrect. Vikalp, we have seen all this. Today now we can begin from chapter 1, 12th statement. Abhyas Vairagyabhyam Tanniyodha. That is that. What is that? Those 5 kind of vittis that appear on my buddhi. Niyodh is, that is what is yoga. Yoga is chitta vritti niyodh. I want to subdue them. How can I subdue them? Patanjali gives us a twofold strategy, abhyas and vairagya. Abhyas meaning practice, vairagya meaning development, a kind of a detachment, a mental attitude. So rag is a word, attachment to worldly things. All that vittis, I get attached to them. And when I get attached to them, then there is a cycle. Vitti gives rise to new sanskar, sanskar gives rise to new vittis, and this is what a common man is leading his life. So one who wants to achieve yoga, particularly liberation, what is called moksha, mukti, or upward, then the two things we have to be careful about is if there are those deposits of clash, I will come again in the world. So from today on, I don't build up new deposits. Then I do some karma. I have to do karma as a human being, but I do it in a detached manner as nishkam karma, so to say, without rag. So that is what is vairagya, so that my new karma do not give rise to new deposits. So that is vairagya. But then I have to practice something, that is what Patanjali is teaching me. That practice, that is called abhyas, that will be such that burns out the deposits that I have brought from past life and I might have gathered in the present life up to this moment. So the whole strategy is I do not build new deposits, what is called clash. But the old deposits, I have to burn them away. For that, I need to do what Patanjali is saying, some sort of a deep meditation practice. And then everything gets burnt out. Then when I die, I will not be born again. So this is what Patanjali is going to teach us. Now he is telling us what abhyas is. Tat sthitau yatno abhyas. There is a journey we are all doing, that is yoga journey. Wherever you are stationed, everybody is on a different point. Wherever you are, if you make an effort to continue to hold that ground, that attempt, that yatna, that practice is called abhyas. If you don't care to hold that ground, you will slip down. So it's like a climbing a hill. If you have reached up to a certain spot, you have to make an attempt to stay on that spot. Otherwise, you are likely to fall down. That attempt to stay on that ground is called abhyas, practice. Then he is characterizing by 3 parameters what that abhyas should be like. Sa meaning that practice, that abhyas. 2 means definitely. Dirghakal, it must be for a long journey, long time duration. You cannot practice for a week and say, I have done enough. So he is not specific because everybody's time duration will be different. But he is telling us that you should be prepared for a long journey that will take quite a significant time. Dirghakal, Nayantaya means it should be continuous practice. It should not be like there should not be interruptions. It's not that you do one day but not another day because certain other things have come up. You have to be, I have to do it every day, twice a day actually. This is what is the classical practice. Then Satkaya Sevito. Satkaya Sevito means with a positive attitude. If you do slightly, grudgingly, then it doesn't work out. You must put your body, mind, soul, like we say. And then you are, Dad Bhumi means you are well grounded. So as I was saying, a journey of yoga is like climbing up the hill and staying on a particular spot is guaranteed. If my practice bears these three parameters, I am always doing it, prepared for a long haul every day and with positive attitude. Having talked about Abhyas, the number 12 was talking, the other parameter was Vairagya. Now he comes to Vairagya. Vairagya has two levels, so let's look at it. Number 15 is saying, just what you have experienced in your life. The observer is called Drashta, and having observed, having seen it, is called Drashta. So this is related to all kinds of sensual pleasures that we have experienced in our life. All those are making an impatience in our mind called rag. So all the nice things we have eaten and all other sensory experiences. Some we have experienced. Anushavik means I have not directly experienced, but I have overheard from others. Somebody says there is a new restaurant in such and such place. Their food is very delicious. Then I develop a craving. Okay, I should also go there and taste the food. So sometimes it happens that I myself experience, then there is a craving. Sometimes I have not experienced, but I have heard from others. So both kind of just and anushavik, experienced as well as overheard. Vishaya means the objects of pleasures. Vitishnasya. Trishna is craving for that object of pleasure. V is for negation, opposite of it, not to have any craving. So once you develop a state of mind that you do not have any craving or any experiences you have had or you have heard from others, then you have achieved a level 1 of Vairagya that he gives it a name. Vashika, Sanjya means a name, Vairagya. So within the Vairagya, detachment, this is level 1, which is about objects of pleasures in the world. They are experienced through our sensory organs. Now he is talking about level 2. Tat Payam means beyond that. Now we are on statement number 16. Tat Payam means beyond the previous statement number 15. That level, beyond that level. Up to what? So that was referring to worldly objects of pleasures. Now he's saying Purush Khyate. Purush Khyate means self-realization. Purush is my own self. Khyati means getting to know it. So up to the point of self-realization, that is what Patanjali is guaranteeing. So beyond these worldly objects of pleasures, but beyond that, but before self-realization, there is a journey. That journey he is talking about which will be revealed in the next statement. He is saying, many things appear on your chitta, many things appear on your chitta, which are guna. Guna is the modes, sattva, rajas, tamas. So our buddhi is made of that we have discussed at length in Samkhya, that trigunatmak, everything made of matter is inherently having different proportions of sattva, rajas, and tamas. And even our buddhi is going through these fluctuations. So he's saying that, when you learn some practice of meditation, something may happen that we call as sampajñāt yoga, that is coming in the next statement. So a flash of knowledge will come on our chitta, but that he says is, that is also appearing on chitta and is fluctuation of these three gunas of buddhi. And Vaitishnyam, this was Vitishna here, same thing is here, Vaitishnyam, not to have craving for them. So what it means is, level 1 of detachment is from worldly objects. Level 2 of detachment is until you have reached the self-realization point, even meditation will bring certain changes in your chitta, but you should not have even craving for them. You should go even beyond that. So that will be second level of detachment. And now what are they? Between the self-realization, until then, there are certain 4 stages that he calls as Sampajñāt Yoga. So as a meditation practitioner, your first success is when you reach the state of Sampajñāt Yoga. Sampajñāt is, Jnat is knowing, knowledge, it is a flash of knowledge. Sam is a prefix, means it is very well depicted knowledge. Pa is percussion, very intense. So there is a, we are all familiar with intense flash of knowledge that may come from nowhere. That is what is Sampajñāt Yoga. And he's saying in second level of Vairagya, you want to say that you want to go even beyond them. But now he says, what are those? There are 4 subdivisions of Sampajñāt Yoga. Vitark, Vichar, Ananda, Asmita, Rupanugamat. The word Rup means, the worldly objects have Rup. So that is to emphasize that even these are appearing on your chitta. So your chitta is becoming, is taking another form. Actually, Rup means shape and form. So it is taking a different form to convey to you a important piece of knowledge. Now there are 4 subdivisions here. Vyas writes extensively on this. What he wants to say is, you cannot skip them. You have to go through 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you have cleared the journey of Sampajñāt Yoga. Next is Asampajñāt Yoga, when your chitta will be thoroughly blank, not even pajya, not even, intuitive knowledge and its flash. What are these 4 subdivisions? First is Vitark, which is about worldly objects. They are gross objects. Like I gave an example, Newton getting to know that Earth has a gravitational pulling force and it attracts everything towards its center. Because this is about gross objects, this will come under the category of Vitark. Which are, if you remember our Samkhya diagram, in the Samkhya diagram there was various boxes. Those boxes are not discernible by our sensory organs. So knowledge pertaining to something that is too minute that is not discernible by our sensory organs. Knowledge pertaining to such things is called in vichar, particularly about our indiyas, our organs. Please bear in mind when I say sensory organ, for example, chakshu, it does not mean the outer organ, it means the inlet port in the mind domain. So knowledge about that is coming in the category of vichar. Anand is knowledge about ahankar unit. Asmita is knowledge about buddhi unit. But buddhi not as buddhi or chitta, but buddhi under the influence of self, my consciousness. So my consciousness is me, that is called asmi. So the me, as if I have the consciousness, it's like a magnet. And first thing that I am connected to is my buddhi. So they give an example of magnet. So if magnet pulls in, say, an iron nail, now that nail also of depth, now nail also exhibits some magnetic force, and that can pull another nail, is it not? So the first nail is actually not a magnet, but because it has been connected to a magnet, it has also magnetism and it behaves like a magnet. In the same manner, the self has consciousness, Purush has consciousness, but Buddhi also conveys that consciousness downstream, Ahankar, and like I said, even my hands are exhibiting consciousness as I wave them up and down. So this is a chain reaction, just like magnet. The first nail will have magnet, of course, at a lower order. Second nail will also have some magnetic prism that will pull the third nail and so on and so forth. So asmita is the buddhi, but under the influence of my consciousness, asmita. So the four subdivisions of Sampajyat Yoga. Now he's switching over. So this is a flow chart. You have to read it very carefully so you know what is in his Patanjali's mind, and you have to correlate it properly. Because there is a term here, sanskar shesho anya. So sanskar is what is contained in the storehouse, content there. Shesh means remaining. Anya means other than sampajyat yoga. So that is called asampajyat yoga. So now he is saying, Vyam pratyaya, what is asampajyat yoga? When Vyam pratyaya abhyas purva, if you continue to do your practice, then pratyaya is the suffix that is appearing on chitta. Now there is absolutely cessation of that. Vyam means no more things are appearing on your chitta. Now it is asampajyat yoga. Now your chitta is in its absolute raw state, and your purush, you are also what you are. But please keep it in mind, some deposits are still in ahankar, but that we'll talk later. Or having come to that point, beyond sampajyat yoga, there is asampajyat yoga, where purush is what he is never, he goes through no manifestation. But chitta goes through all changes, fluctuation and perturbations. Now there is no more. So chitta is in raw state in asampajyat yoga. But in the next unit, ahankar, certain sanskar, certain deposits are still there. Now this is called sabij samadhi. Bij is the seeds that bring you into the world. So some seeds are still residing in ahankar, certain clash. So you will be born again. That's why this is called, this is asampajyat yoga, but sabij samadhi means seeds are still there. Now, if you practice furthermore, then those seeds are burnt out. Then that becomes Nibit Samadhi. That is where the first chapter will be ending. When there are no more seeds, so you will not be born again. So I hope you understand the level of this journey of yoga is simple meditation practice like what we are going through. Then there will be some Prajnat Yoga at one stage. You will make your chitta blank, but Ishwar will give you certain flashes. They will be in 4 subdivisions. Then there will be Asampanjat Yoga, but that will be certain seeds will be present, Sabit Samadhi. And then furthermore, there will be Asampajnat Yoga without seeds, that is Nibit Samadhi. Okay. Now we are coming to statement number 19. Bhav Pratyayo Videhe Prakriti Layanam. Now he's saying there are certain people in this world who have gone through some Prajnat Yoga in their previous life. So they are born with a certain advantage, and those people are characterized as Bhav Pratyaya, means they already have that advantage. And within that Bhav Pratyaya, there are 2 categories, Videha and Prakriti Layanam. Videha is that category who went through, who were capable of Vitark or Vichar or Samprajnat Yoga. And Prakriti Laya is the category who had achieved Anand and Asmita Samprajnat Yoga. So naturally, when they are in this world again, next time, born again, they already have these advantages. So their journey will be reasonably efficient. But in the statement 12:20, Itayesham means for others, for people like me and you, he is giving us a prescription that how we should proceed in this journey. Now there are certain elements, 3 elements significant, Shraddha, Vijaya, Smriti. I will explain them one by one. Then you will achieve Samadhi, means your chitta is blank. And then there will be a flash of knowledge, that is what is called Prajna, that I had shown you when I was talking about chitta 3 weeks ago from Nighantu. Nighantu was saying chitta and many other words, total 11 words. Then he says, iti Prajna namani. So it is the same word, Prajna. Prajna meaning intuitive knowledge, flash of intuitive knowledge. So once you have, so these are the stages people like us have to go through. Then the reason I am showing this is Samadhi has some, Prajna has Prajna, and they together gives the word Samprajnat Yoga. So Samprajnat Yoga for others, for people like us, is achieved if we invest certain things. They are called as Shraddha, Vijaya and Smriti. Shraddha is a compound word, is a misunderstood, like so many words presently misunderstood in India, including dharma and yoga and all those nice words. They all have lost their true meanings. Same thing has happened to the word Shraddha. Shraddha nowadays is treated as Andhashraddha, something like blind faith, which it is not. So let us understand it. This is a compound word, Shat and Dha. Dha is to carry, to hold. Shat is for Satya, truth. So holding the truth, not holding in the sense assimilating it, so that you function in accordance with the truth that you have understood, is called Shraddha. Now, what is the truth in this context? Truth is the Patanjali's teachings. Patanjali is saying, do this, 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 then there will be Sampajaat Yoga, then Asampajaat Yoga and all this, that none of us has seen it. So what Patanjali is saying is, you should accept this tentatively. Because if you don't accept his teaching, you will never make progress. And then you may say, how do I accept it when I don't know it is truthful or not? So this is what it is. You accept it, but tentatively. This is subject to proof, subject to the evidence, subject to its validation. But you accept it as if it is truthful, as if you have yourself seen it, but this is subject to verification and validation. So this is Shraddha. Just to give you a quick example, you travel, reach a new airport, new city, you want to walk some distance, you have picked up a map, you have a particular destination. As you are walking, you test that map. And in between, if you find the landmarks that that map is saying, then you say this is correct. If you don't find the landmarks, you will throw that map. This is not trustworthy, is it not? But if you don't pick up the map, if you don't even care to follow it, you will never make use of it, isn't it? So this is what is Patanjali's roadmap to yoga. If you don't trust him, you will never get to know his teachings. If you don't implement it properly, so like he said, Satkaya Sevito in practice, you want to practice it with positive attitude. But he is not saying have a permanent blind faith. He is saying you have Shraddha as if this is all true, but if you don't find it at the end of the journey, then you can disown it, is it not? So this is the meaning of Shraddha, tentatively accepting the truth that a teacher is saying and not rejecting at the outset. But it is subject to verification by your own self. That is what is pramana. If you don't find it correct knowledge, then you reject it. Okay, having developed the Shraddha towards Patanjali's teachings, Virya means intensely working in that direction, with intense inherent energy, physical, mental, and subtle energies. Smriti means now that you are proceeding, then he is saying, in your previous life, or even in the present life, you might have heard something which may be beneficial in this journey, but it was somewhere in your corner of the storehouse. Now that may come and reappear in your mind, and that may help you traverse this journey. So this is what he is saying, that you don't blindly accept it, you accept it in tentative mode and go in full steam, that is Virya. And then in your past life or in the past of the current life, something which is useful in this journey may pop up, and that may also help. And then it will lead to Samadhi and Prajna. Then you will also achieve some Prajnat Yoga. You may not be in the category of Bhav Pratyaya. So this other category is also given. If you read books on yoga, some books may say Upaya Pratyaya. So we are all in the category of Upaya Pratyaya, and this is the prescription. Now he says there are different methods to implement, and depending on the quality of methods, the Tivya Samveganam Asana. Asana is adjacent. The destination becomes adjacent to me if I pick up a method that is correct method. This is why we are emphasizing our particular method, which we think is very efficient and is very simple to implement. And in the same words, Patanjali is saying, depending on the method you have chosen, the destination may become adjacent to you. And in a particular, he will be specifying that particular method very soon, and we'll see it. Now he says, even the particular method, if you know it, even if it is the best method, how well it is applied is in your hand. Do you apply in a very mild manner, that is midhu, in a medium manner, that is madhya, and with a high intensity, that is adhi, matyat. So that is rate of application of the good method. So two things are there, the quality of methods and the rate at which you apply. They all characterize how there are different kinds of people, different kinds of practitioners in the world. So there are all kinds of practitioners in the world. Somebody is on this scale, somebody is on the other extreme, etc., etc. Now he is talking a particular which he thinks is the most efficient method, and he calls it as statement number 23, Ishwar Pranidhanat Va. Va is discretionary. So he's saying, he's offering to teach us a particular method that is most efficient. Indeed, this is what we have also picked up in our method. He calls it as Ishwar Pranidhanan. Ishwar Pranidhan. Pranidhanat means by application of that method. Why is meaning discretionary. This is an option. If you don't want to choose this, then this particular section will end in 5 or 6 statements. Otherwise, this is his flow chart. So one has to go through it carefully. Other, if you are not interested, you can skip it and go to statement number, I can tell you, statement number 30. Statement number 30 is, you can, if you want to skip Ishwar Pranidhana. We have no reason not to skip. So we come back to that method and try to understand. Right in the first session of this course, I talked about 4 principal subject areas of the 4 Vedas as Vijnan, Karma, Upasana, and Jnana. Then I was saying how the human history have unfolded. If we get away from Upasana, we don't have Vijnan. Vijnan is that knowledge that you get from Sampajñāt Yoga. If there is no Upasana, nobody gets that. If the society is like this, like in the present world, nobody is interested in Upasana. So there is no true intuitive knowledge of superior kind. If you slip from Upasana, you get to Jnana. These are bookish knowledge of worldly things. That's what is prevailing, materialistic life in today's world. Everybody is talking, all the finest minds are working to make new computers, new phones, new gadgets, new automobiles, new airplanes. All these are worldly objects to make life more comfortable, but nobody is bothered about real quality of human life, is it not? So everybody is at Jnana level. And even if the Jnana goes, collapses, then you are at Karma level. So we have discussed, if you want to rise above, our karma should be according to dharma. And then not for rewards. And get to know what Samkhya and Yoga are talking about. Get that knowledge. and then practice it, upasana. So Kam, Jnana and Upasana. These are the three ladders to make progress. And that's what we have started through this course. This is the seed of a new world. Maybe that new world will be what, 20, 50 years, 100 years from now. But based on these three steps of Kam, Jnana and Upasana. Just imagine a world where majority of people are engaged in Upasana yoga. Just imagine. Today there may be just 20 or 30 or 50 people in the world. So if there are millions of people, even a couple of billions, it's a totally different world. So let's look at it. The reason I said is Karma, Jnana and Upasana, because now he wants to tell us who this Ishwar is. So he is talking first from the Karma point of view. In 24th and in 25th, he will talk from Jnana. And in 24th, he will say Purush Vishesh Ishwar. He is trying to say he is also Purush like I am, but he is slightly special. So he is Purush Vishesh. Both of us are consciousness, but we are very limited, tiny consciousness. He is infinite consciousness. So Patanjali is encouraging us to see that, look, he is like you, and you should be interested in knowing him. But in what way he is different from me? He is saying in the dimension of karma, because he also does a lot of karma. He makes the world, he sustains the world, he does all kinds. He's very busy, every moment doing millions of things, billions of things. But his karma is slightly different. Why? Aparameshta means untouched. He is untouched by what? Klesh. You know, we have the deposits of klesh. That's why we are here. And that's why we perform certain karma driven by our sanskar of raga and dvesh, etc. We will see it next in second chapter. Klesh will be better defined in the second chapter. Let us postpone it until then. Here also klesh is not really needed because Ishwa is void of klesh. If he was with klesh, then there was a pressure on me to describe klesh at this point. That's why Patanjali also doesn't care to describe klesh now. Because what he's saying is Ishwa is void of klesh. And because he is void of klesh, his karma do not make karmasha. They don't go through the pipeline of rewards. What we say goes around, comes around. Or what we say, you reap what you sow. So that is a particular platform because those karma has been driven by klesh. That's why they will come back. So that's what we have seen in Vairagya. We do not want to perform any karma. As a person interested in the journey of Samkhya Yoga, we want to be careful. We want to perform karma. I cannot be without karma in this world, but my karma will not be driven by klesh, not by raga, not by my likes and dislikes, is it not? That's what we saw, the wheel of the universe 3 weeks ago. Okay, so that Ishwa is another consciousness, Purush, but very special because he is void of klesh. So his karma is not due to klesh. Of course, they don't give rise to karmasha and there will be no ripening, karma vipak. And all this do not concern him. These are not relevant parameters for him. So in karma, he is also doing karma, but he is different from me. And I should make him an ideal. If he is my ideal, I should follow this sort of it. Then he is talking about the knowledge dimension. In the knowledge dimension, Tatya meaning therein, he is talking about Ishwar. Niyatishayam, there is a absolute it is called as absolute superlative degree. Sarvajya means all-knowing. So our knowledge is very finite, but his knowledge is all-knowing. He knows everything. But somebody could imagine maybe he has a very good teacher who has taught him everything. Then he's saying Vijam means even the seed of knowledge is with him. It is not that he picks up knowledge from somebody else. So even the seed of knowledge is with him. So this is what Maharishi Dayananda writes in the first principle of Arya Samaj. सब सत्य विद्या और जो पदार्थ विद्या से जाने जाते हैं उन सबका आदि मूल परमेश्वर. What he means is all the true knowledge have their origin in him. So that's why there is a good thing in English also. We never say somebody invented knowledge. We say he discovered knowledge. So knowledge is discovered because it already exists. So everything, the knowledge of air, the knowledge of clouds, the knowledge of water, the knowledge of wood, all that is within those things. And our good scientists and philosophers are trying to discover it. As much as they know it, we say they have discovered the knowledge. But who made it? Who made the wood, air, water behave the way they behave? According to Ishwar's knowledge. So he makes things in accordance with his knowledge, and all the things behave in accordance with that knowledge. And from that behavioral pattern, our scientists and philosophers try to decipher and discover that knowledge. Is it not? This is what is going on in the world. But he is the original source of the knowledge. And his knowledge is all-knowing. And that is what the world reflects his knowledge. So having talked about the word Sarvajya, the word Jya means to know. And we are not Sarvajya, we are called Alpajya. We have a limited knowledge. Yeah, I would like to just, yes, not slight digression. For knowledge, you will find another word in Vedic literature, namely Vidya. So Vidya and Jnana, in English, both have same translation, knowledge. But please remember, they have distinction. Vidya, that's what Maharishi Dayananda is saying. सब सत्य विद्याओं का पुस्तक या सब सत्य विद्या और जो पदार्थ विद्या से जाने जाते. Here he is not saying sab jnana, he is saying vidya. So vidya is the knowledge that exists in the universe, and what I decipher, what I discover, what I know is my jnana. So vidya is infinite knowledge, and in case of Ishwar, his jnana and vidya are same, because vidya is nothing but his jnana. So vidya is the knowledge that exists in the universe, that needs to be discovered, that needs to be unlocked. But a fraction of that I have understood is my jnana. Is it not? So jnana is the knowledge that I know. Vidya is the knowledge that is to be known, which is infinite. Is it not? Okay. So there was a slight comment about Vidya and Jnana. Let's proceed further. Okay, I will go up to 1.28. Purvesham api guru kalenan vachedat. Now he's saying in the direction of knowledge. He's saying transmission of knowledge. That's what we call education. We are very proud of. Animals are not much concerned about it, but human endeavor, 1/4 of our life is full-time education. Is it? What is education? transmission of knowledge from one human being to another, by a teacher to the pupil, is it not? So that is what Guru is. So we are familiar with this. We have all learned knowledge from a teacher, and he has learned from his teacher. This chain will go to the first human being, and that's where we say Ishwar was his teacher, and he revealed his knowledge, what is called the Vedas. But Patanjali is interestingly telling us, Purveshamapi, means even the previous to us, there were people, and for them, Ishwar was the teacher. Kalenan Vacheda, that means this chain is not broken even by time. What he wants to say is, before this creation came into being, this universe, there was frozen, then there was no time. But prior to that, there was again the world. So every time it goes on, this is time, there is a time when even time doesn't exist. But even beyond that, there was time. So this is all cyclic thing. So he's saying it has always been there. So he is the original teacher. Patanjali is encouraging us that besides the worldly teachers, through Sampajñāt Yoga, if I achieve that, I can benefit from Ishwar as my guru. So this is the statement. So this is what he's encouraging us to go through the practice so that we benefit from his teaching direct. He becomes my teacher and he gives me a flash of knowledge as Sampajñāt Yoga. Tasya Vachaka Pranav. Now that Ishwar is known by that is an entity. And for me, like a child's mother's name is Pushpa. Her official name is in Puspa in her passport, driving license, etc. But to her child, I tell, you should approach your mother. She loves you so much. You should also, when you return from school, you should hug your mother. And then we say, you call her name as soon as you return from school. First thing you should do is call her name and hug your mother. Then we say, you call her name by Ma or something like that, Mom or whatever it is it not? He doesn't call her name as Pushpa, is it not? So this is a similar kind of story. Here, Ishwar is that entity. Now Patanjali is saying the right name to call him is that sound. That sound is now called as pranav, what we use in our practice. Oh, so that is he's saying, Tasya Vach. Ishwar is known by that. If you call by that name, then your journey will be facilitated. Now the way to call is called a jap. Tad japas tadat bhavanam. So what he's saying is when you are calling that name, you should be lost like a child calls. As a child, we have all called our mother, Ma. But an innocent little child, when he carries that name, his whole body, mind, soul is engaged there fully. Is it not? It's not that his voice is calling that name, but his mind is elsewhere. Is it not? So in the same spirit, Patanjali is suggesting when you recite this sound, its meaning is Ishwar, and not only in meaning, you should be thoroughly immersed in that whatever is known as Ishwar, that bhav, that we cannot express in words. That's why we always say that after dharana, we want to go in dhyan, where only mental recitation of this sound is. And even if that vanishes, we want to get lost into nothingness, into that infinite ocean, Anandamaya Kosh. So that is his bhav, So we have covered until 1.28 today. And next week, we will go further. And let me bring my slides so we can devote next few minutes. Not too much time. I have taken longer than I should have, but this is our slide. I will set the timer for 10 minutes. Let's go through these steps we are very familiar with. Let's put our body posture in a relaxed manner, whichever way we are sitting. Be very relaxed. 3 cycles of deep breathing, each cycle with 4 phases. Here it begins. Deep breathe out. Hold the breath out. Mentally recite Om Bhu Om Bhuva Om Su. Deep breathe in. Now hold the breath within. Now recite mentally Om Bhu Om Bhuva Om Swaha Om Maha Om Jana Om Tapa Om Sa. That was first cycle. Deep breathe out. Om Bhu Om Bhuva Om Sa. Deep breathe in. Om Bhu Om Bhuva Om Swaha Om Maha Om Jana Om Tapa Om Sa. Third cycle, deep breathe out. Om Bhu Om Bhuva Om Sa. Deep breathe in. Om Bhu Om Bhuva Om Swaha Om Maha Om Sa. That completes our 3 cycles of deep regulated breathing. Taking a short pause, ensuring our mind disconnects from body and breathing domains, Annamaya Kosh and Pranamaya Kosh. Now we'll recite that sound orally. That will be as if we are in Manomaya Kosh. Then we'll enter into Vijnanamaya Kosh. Then I will press the button for our timer. Our entry into Vijnanamaya Kosh will be with the mental recitation of that sound, ensuring that no other chittavritti interrupts. If anything else comes, I return back to that default state, namely mental recitation of Pranav sound. If I have good luck, even that vanishes, then I am submerged in that infinite ocean of Anandamaya Kosh. Okay, here begins the sound. Om. 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 Okay, thank you for joining this session number 9 and its practice meditation session. We can now devote next few minutes to question and answer if there is anything.
Acharya ji, can we use hypothesis term for Shraddha in the context today?
Please say that again. Can we use?
Can we use the term hypothesis for Shraddha that you mentioned in today's session? Shraddha.
No, hypothesis is one who is proposing it. He has not able to validate it. So he is hypothesizing. So here it is between teacher and student. Teacher is saying, I have seen certain things, and so for him it is truth. It is not hypothesis. It is the truth.
But for the student, it is like to accept it like a hypothesis and trial.
So there is a difference in your context and this context.
Dhanyavad.
आचार्य जी, आई हैव अ क्वेश्चन. लाइक आप बोल रहे हैं कि जो पुरुष है, पुरुष अपने आप को चित्ती समझने लगता है, तो पुरुष इज नॉट ईश्वर, ईश्वर इज बियॉन्ड पुरुष, राइट?
Purush is a term that one who occupies a space and has consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So that way both are Purush, myself and Ishwar. But Ishwar is, so just to identify it, he is not just Purush like I am, he is called Purush Vishesh.
Okay. Paratma. Okay. Atma
And
Paratma.
he is unique, he is only one who is Purush Vishesh. All of us are Purush, even animals, birds.
Okay, thank you.
Acharya ji, today 1 hour before.
छोटा सा मेरा भी क्वेश्चन है.
Yeah, we tried our best. We wrote the email yesterday. We again sent a reminder, but what can I do? And
No,
we even
received
said it in last week, that clocks are advancing, and so for
no, I
UK
was
it is
not
just for
aware.
2 weeks. 2 weeks later, your clocks would also have advanced, so we'll be on the same.
No, for Ramayana, I got a message at 1:30, and then I checked for your message for this session. There was no message, so I thought maybe you are continuing.
Yeah,
at
no,
the
in this
same-
group we have not made WhatsApp group, but we are writing the emails.
No, I didn't receive actually. Sorry.
Maybe it is in your spam folder.
Mhm.
Maybe it is. One email was sent 12
email
hours
was
ago,
Yeah,
and one
I got
email was
email.
sent 15 minutes before the start.
Yeah, I got the email, yeah.
So Acharya ji, I have a small question. जो प्रणव है और ओम है, तो जैसे है लिखा हुआ स्वामी जी ने कि भी ओम परमात्मा का निज नाम है, तो प्रणव हम यहाँ कहते हैं, तो क्या प्रणव और ओम में केवल इतना सा डिफरेंस है कि प्रणव इज एन वोकेटिव फॉर्म ऑफ ईश्वर्स नाम ओम?
Actually, Pranav is a sound. That sound, oh, is actually a sound. It's not a word.
तो फिर जब वो कहते हैं कि ईश्वर
Now
का
the
निज
sound
नाम,
has a name. The name of the sound is Pranav.
Okay. So we can't call it that a pranav is a form of vocative when we want to kind of invoke Ishwar. It can't be taken like that.
Yeah, because these cases like vocative and all, they apply to a word. They don't apply to a sound.
Okay.
So this is just a sound, Now the sound has been broken into 3 sounds, a, u, ma, etc. And then our ancestors have done certain analysis, etc. But notwithstanding that, as far as we are concerned, this is a sound. Of course, the sound refers to him.
Refers to him. And
Yeah,
where
that is what he's saying. Tadartha bhavanam means the Pranav sound refers to him, but of course Dayanand is saying ye uska nij naam hai, but literally speaking, this is not naam, this is not sound, this is not a word.
This is not a kind of a Sanjya name or the noun kind of form. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
Or
like that.
Acharya, we can say that he's advising that you remember me by calling me Om.
Well, Patanjali is saying
Yeah.
that he is defining a particular scheme which he says is efficient to succeed in yoga, and he is characterizing that scheme as Ishwar Pranidhan. And then he describes what Ishwar means and all that in a limited sense. Then he says the way to implement Ishwar Pranidhan is to recite that sound.
Okay. So maybe, Acharya, maybe that the
Now he
meaning.
says that reciting is not mechanical because it must be recited such that you end up in his bhav. This is what that Mundak Upanishad is saying, that arrow will hit him, released from the bow. Now the pranav is the bow. So this sound is a vehicle that somehow it will propel you and you will meet that Purush Vishesh. But the whole magic is that when you meet, then the sound will not be with you. But the sound will take you there, but it's very difficult to imagine it. It's like I try to talk in terms of climbing up a hill. Suppose the summit of the hill is very small flat surface where only your 2 feet can just barely stay there. Now imagine you are taking the use of some catches, that is this pranav sound. The catches go up to the last step, but at the very last step, you use the catches and you release them, you throw them away also. Otherwise, you will not be standing on the summit. So, this pranav sound will take you there, but will not be there with you at the last point.
Just like the example of car that you give, a driver in a car, he has to stop the car and get down and then walk further to the destination.
Yeah, that also slightly crude example because, but here the whole thing is that nothing is better than that bow and arrow that is from Mundak Upanishad. I think that is a very good example.
So when we go into bhav form, like tad jap, tad अर्थ भावनम, तो उसमें भी वहां भगवान के जैसे ओम के 3 हैं के म से जो भी 3 9 वो निकलते हैं, उनका कुछ भी दिमाग में नहीं होना चाहिए क्योंकि भाव
that is at the earth level, meaning
level. Yeah, okay.
Earth and then there is bhav. Bhav meaning,
so then you just get the feeling.
There's nothing in your mind now.
Yeah, okay.
There's nothing in your mind.
Okay.
Because you have to disconnect from mind. So this is a tentative method to occupy your mind until you are with him. But to be thoroughly immersed in it, So Ishwar Pranidhan doesn't mean this only recitation. If you try to understand it, such a recitation can happen like I alluded in my presentation. The child is crying his mother's name through whole, So when you recite this name such that there is no interruption, that meaning nothing else is important for you in your mind, As a beginner, that is our problem is. We have been discussing again and again. We close our eyes, want to meditate, but so many things come there. So many things come because our Ishwar Pranidhan is not perfect. If I had achieved Ishwar Pranidhan, then nothing else would come in my mind. If my love for her was supreme, then I wouldn't, in this journey, nothing else will come in my mind. So it is not just merely recitation You know, we do say mental excitation, but that is why in Upanishad, you know, the excitation is, mental excitation is called Pashyanti. And then there is another stage beyond that, that is called Paya. When actually you are not exciting, but you are with him, and you know, that state is being defined as if you are exciting, because as if you are exciting, but nothing else is coming in your mind. You know, it is always the problem that bhav cannot be described in words.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
just
it's,
have to give examples. But the key thing is your chittavetti nayodhi. That is what Patanjali is saying very clearly. You know, when you are doing mental excitation, you have a chittavetti. But this vetti you have chosen to ward off any other vetti. But even if you are hooked to this chittavetti, then you are never with him.
Yeah.
So finally you want even this chittavetti to vanish. I think most of you have understood. It just requires a slight, you know,
Yes,
changing
experience.
in your mind. Otherwise, we are so much used to the conventional thinking. With our mind, we are trying to understand our mind, and even in situation when our mind is no more functioning. This all we are doing through our mind, you know. That's why the problem is.
Acharji,
But
I
it's not
think this
such a
is
big
why.
problem. You know, if you are innocent like a child, it's just natural. बच्चे को कुछ नहीं मालूम है, लेकिन वो अपनी माँ की गोद में तो पहुंचे.
वो भाव का नहीं सोचता बच्चे. Yes, he's there.
Just imagine from child's perspective how, जब वो माँ को पुकारा है 2 साल 3 साल का बच्चा, तो एक कहानी है ना मेले की. Sorry, switching to Hindi. A village fair, a mother and child. So the child is saying, I want this, I want that ride, this jalebi and this things like that, one after. But in the crowd, then the child gets lost. Now somebody, a Samaritan or a policeman, he picks up that child. The child is crying non-stop. So just to deviate that, the now policeman says, I will give you this, I will give that. But the child says, Mama, I just want my mother. That's it. So he is fully, he knows, you know, if I am with her, I have everything. If I am not with her, I have nothing. So he is, you know, he's binary, either mother or nothing. So that is the binary thinking.
It's an
So
amazing example.
we have to look at it from that perspective.
It was a very popular story, R.K. Narayan's Lost Child.
Yeah, the lost child. Yeah.
I know I don't know, they gave me A+ and all. Thank you so much reminding me that.
We have not just
It's such
we
a
are
good
not just
example.
lost
you know.
Just
children
like
in the
we are
we have even
disconnected from that
forgotten of
mother,
our mother.
but are
We are
we,
disconnected from our
you know,
mother
like
too.
that child, he doesn't accept any other thing but the
Yeah,
mother.
But we are
We are not that much, you know. We
Acharji, if you give me a minute and a half, I have something very exciting to say on this.
please.
This story was taught to me in probably high school or intermediate.
I think
I just read it.
please go ahead.
And I just read it. And after 5-7 years, when I was working for a tire company, I visited a tire shop where a Sardarji, a young sir, whose beard was open and it looked like a bonk. And he narrated me the same story in a different way. He said, you know, that finger, he said the whole pleasure for that boy, for that child was because he was holding the finger of his father. The whole world was same. The only thing that he was missing in that fair when he got lost was that finger. So he said, that finger is the Lord, that connection. So as long as the God has given you his finger, you will enjoy everything in the world. The moment you miss that finger, the same toys, same swing, same sweets were useless to him and he was crying. And that was the crux of the story.
Yes, absolutely.
He said that the whole, for kids, as long as we are holding them, they enjoy everything. The moment they miss it, they miss the whole enjoyment.
God must be missing us too, because when we miss our children, so that He must be missing us too, waiting for us to be going to Him, right?
I don't know.
Of course, because we belong to Him, right? We don't belong to this world, actually.
So, what is the definition of God? What is God? So, my question is, what is God?
Well, that's what Patanjali has described, Klesh Kayam, he is maker of the world, universe, he sustains it. He is the one, I didn't choose my parents. Somebody decided I should be in this world on this date and time. These were my sets of parents. So anything that happens in the world and we are not doing it, being done by him.
So basically, God wants us to be on this earth, right? If we all get moksha, then how the world will function? I mean, we have to be here in order for the world to function, right? If everyone gets moksha, then no one is born, right? So
Can the music be stopped by any means? Can the music be stopped?
Yeah, there is a background sound somewhere.
Enjoy.
Can everybody be mute so that only speaker is. Let's see.
Acharya ji, just a small thing. Tasya Vachika Pranava is more relevant to Ishwar Pranidhan, correct? So is part of that, and that is what Acharya Dayanand Saraswati gave for people who qualify for Ashtanga Yoga, so that they get the best vritti. Yeah, thank you, Acharya.
So no, my question is, why do we exist then? If the God doesn't want us to exist on this earth, if He wants us to get moksha, then why do we exist? And if everyone gets moksha, then what will happen to the world?
You have muted yourself, Acharya-ji.
Acharya-ji, you are on mute.
What I was saying was, if we deserve moksha, we will get it. If we do not deserve it, then we are in this cycle of birth and death. But human life is uniquely placed that I can progress to become deserving for moksha.
Yeah, I understand it. But if suppose I get a moksha, is there a duration for that moksha? Is it permanent state that I reach moksha, then I don't come back at all?
Well, it's a permanent in the sense it's a very billions of year long-term interval, but finally nothing is permanent. If we come back again, yeah.
So basically, if once I get the moksha, the concept of time and space itself goes away, right? So I again come back. So what is the advantage getting moksha? Because what I was thinking that the reason we are born, because we have ahankara, we have some things impurities, and we come back and we try to improve upon that. That part I understand. But if we are able to purify our ahankara, there's nothing in storehouse, and we get a moksha, then it should be permanent, because I'm not getting any impurities anymore. Then why should I be born again?
Okay, now that is a academic question, but is very relevant. The question now is, if I get moksha, then those deposits are removed, etc. Then why do I come back in the world again? Of course, I come back probably several billions of years later, but why should it happen again? Where do the deposits come again? Kapil answers this question in Samkhya. What he's saying is, look at this as light and darkness. So now when our attempt, we discussed today this Samadhi and all that thing, those seeds will get burnt out. So finally we have got the self-realization, finally light of knowledge, so to say. But then he says any light, this is a distinction between light and darkness. So darkness, you can look at it, darkness when you are not in moksha. And you achieve moksha when that inner light is there. Now what Kapil is trying to say, any light will never be permanent, even the sun will not be permanent. So he basically says, this is not a good question. So he says, this question is not admissible. Why there is darkness? The question is, how can I get rid of darkness? Nobody asks why, you open a room, it is in the late night, it is dark. If you switch on the light, there is light. But nobody asks why it is dark, So that is the way the philosophers have tried to answer this question, Or in other words, what they are saying is, any light that you create will have a finite intensity and will have finite life duration, is it not? So we are, by method of this yoga and all this journey we are talking, this is a finite effort. So finite effort cannot give rise to infinite, benefit for infinite time duration. So this will be a light. Once I have generated that innermost light, that light will prevail for a good length of time, but again, the light will vanish and there will be darkness. So that darkness meaning, it is time for me to be brought again into the world. So, like today I have put on a new shirt. Nobody asks, where is it picking dirt from? We just, one day later it is not worthy of me and I want to wash it. And then I again wear it once it has been washed. We don't go into the detail. Where does it, how minutely the dust is falling, etc., etc. So that is what the nature of the whole world, universe is, that certain things, particularly in this context, darkness exists, but nobody can ask where did it come from. It just comes in. So we make an effort to get rid of darkness, but any effort will have finite, benefit in time and intensity both.
So at such Mahर्षि दयानंद सरस्वती writes सिद्धार्थ प्रकाश, सृष्टि का प्रयोजन यही है कि जिससे ईश्वर के सृष्टि निमित्त गुण कर्म स्वभाव का साफल्य होना. जैसे किसी ने पूछा कि नेत्र किस लिए हैं, उसने कहा देखने के लिए, वैसे ही सृष्टि करने के ईश्वर के सामर्थ्य की सफलता सृष्टि कराने में है और जीवों को कर्मों का यथावत भोग कराने आदि. तो इसका अर्थ है कि ईश्वर he wants that the world should exist, right? That so that people can come and experience this world.
I didn't quite pick up. You can send me this,
sure.
This extract.
It is
even now time is, we have exceeded the time. What I will say, you can send me this extract. You can take it up next week, isn't it?
Sure, definitely. Yeah, this is an interesting topic,
Yeah, it's a
different views.
Interesting discussion, but
yeah, time is a limited.
There are certain things nobody knows, but we can all try to dwell upon it.
Because
actually, we don't even know what moksha is.
Yeah, because you lose the concept of time once you die, right? There's no time. Time doesn't exist.
The good thing is, the good thing is, even if we don't care, we don't believe in moksha, even this journey towards moksha, whatever it is, brings a good benefit in the present life.
No. I personally think meditation is very beneficial.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. Theory is different.
We are just,
it is really beneficial thing, and everyone should do meditation. That I agree.
That is the spirit, and we just want, as much as our intellect can help, we want to have a good understanding about its theoretical and practical aspects and implement it in our day-to-day life. Thank you all very much. We have exceeded, sorry, by 5 minutes. The time-related thing, in North America, clocks have advanced last weekend, 2 weekends later. So there are 2 weeks where Europe and America are slightly out of sync. 2 weeks later, it will be back to the usual. But those who are in India, change has already taken place, and that is permanent, but not so permanent, just 7-8 months. Then again, in India, the clocks are not played with, but the rest of the world, they do some funny things, whatever it is. So, but we will keep you informed by our emails. Thank you all again. Have a
There is a YouTube recording available for the English session as well. I see some correspondence for Hindi, but not for English.
For English, we have been writing every week, all the sessions are available. All the English sessions have been recorded, and they are in a particular playlist. So the emails are sent. So you can check your spam folder. Even
Yes.
today, you will get an email either within 24 hours.
So I am pleased about that, Acharya-ji, because I am traveling now for next 1 month, and my attendance might be erratic depending on the circumstances in India, where
Well,
I
I
am.
am sure next month you will have better time than
Yes,
without
yeah.
attending these
Yes,
sessions.
so 1 month, I think I'll be probably depending on the
But
recording.
recordings we have not missed.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
At the onset of the session, I am pushing the button, so we don't miss.
Okay. So because I don't want to miss it, that's why I'm saying that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
questions cannot
Thank
be
you
asked.
all.
Okay,
And
धन्यवाद
we
आचार्य.
meet again next week. Yeah.
Thank you.
धन्यवाद आचार्य.